conversation. That I don't feel like is normal, but I was looking supernova. So we have Dear Debbie, the newest by Frida McFadden. Debbie is used to giving advice and helping people with her problem, but when she loses her job, her life starts to spiral. Debbie has decided she's had enough of just giving advice, and it's time for payback. It's a brand new twisted thriller about what happens when women finally choose to take justice into their own hands with killer results. That's the latest from Frida. The next one is Pendergast, The Beginning. It is technically the 23rd installment of the Pendergast series by Douglas Preston, but it's technically the beginning. So from the best-selling author duo, Preston and Child, comes the Agent Pendergast origin story. It will take readers on an adventure into the formative years of Pendergast as a junior FBI agent. It's good for diehard fans and new readers who want to start at the beginning. So if you're been with him for a while, this is just going to give you more backstory. If you've not been with him at all, this is a good place to start. The newest one from Alice Feeney, My Husband's Wife. One house, one husband, two women, and someone is lying. The best-selling Queen of Twists is back with a psychological masterpiece where nothing is as it seems in this tangled web of deception, obsession, and mystery that will keep you guessing. The next one, The Shop on Hidden Lane by Jane Ann Prince. I best categorize this one as a romantic suspense. A new novel filled with deeply buried grudges, psychic dangers, and a conspiracy that threatens not only two feuding families, but also the entire paranormal community. By a strange twist of fate, Harper and the Wells have no choice but to trust each other and the fierce attraction that is binding them as they share the responsibility for protecting a very long, very dangerous family secret. So more like a paranormal romance. Then we have the newest from Brad Meltzer. It is Ziganola number 3. They are back and attempting to unravel a shocking cold case with a personal and deadly twist in this pulse-pounding adventure that will grab readers from the first page. It has a complicated plot and is well written with a large cast of characters that will keep you guessing. The next one, the newest, surprise, surprise, from James Patterson. I swear he comes out with three a month. I can't keep up with them. The Invisible Woman, it is co-written because nothing of his is his. A new page turner from Patterson follows once top FBI agent Eleanor, who has faded into obscurity. But when a call from her former boss offers a shot at redemption, she can't resist. Her mission, infiltrate the opulent world of a New York art dealer suspected of laundering money for a notorious drug cartel. It is a quick read filled with lots of humor, action, and drama, and it will leave you entertained. I have been told this is one of his funniest ones yet, so if you want more of a lighthearted mystery, this one will probably make you laugh. Next, we have The Swarm by Rachel Hawkins, another thriller. They're all thrillers. An utterly gripping and fast-paced locked room mystery set in historic Alabama Inn during storm season. Going back and forth between past and present day, it has multiple first-person perspectives. This is a complex story with a large cast of characters that all have secrets to hide. Will they be able to survive the coming storm? Last but not least, we have a new one from Colleen Hoover. It feels like it's been a hot minute. Woman Down. It is actually a thriller, an unput-downable, twisty thriller from one of Monique's favorites. Coho follows a frustrated author looking for a muse in a remote hideaway, but she gets more than she bargained for when Detective Nathaniel Saint arrives, sparking her creativity and much more in this dark and moody romantic suspense novel. Coho herself has described this novel as the darkest book she has written so far. So it's not as maybe lighthearted as some of her other romances. I know some of them do still have hard topics and can be very heavy, but she does say that this is her heaviest one yet.
So here's the new nonfiction coming out. So The Royal Insider is a heartfelt memoir by Paul Burrell, who several years ago wrote another memoir about his friendship with Princess Diana. In this new book, he gives more details about his own life, that he spent at home and abroad with the royal family. Eat Yourself Healthy is a new cookbook from Jamie Oliver that focuses on meals made from nourishing foods to help you feel healthier and happier. And David Bowie and the Search for Life, Death, and God is a new book on David Bowie, of course. It's the story of Bowie's search for meaning and how that inspired him to write his music. It covers Bowie's quest for spirituality from his earliest recordings all the way to his final album. Being Thomas Jefferson by Andrew Burstein is a close-up portrait of the founding father from a noted Jefferson scholar. It's described as an elegantly written exploration of our third president's inner life. The Black Dahlia by William J. Mann is the first definitive account of the 1947 brutal murder of Elizabeth Short, also known as the Black Dahlia, the most famous unsolved true crime case in American history. This re-examines and humanizes the victim and situates the case within its anxious post-war context. In The Myth of Aging, a world-renowned psychiatrist, Arnold Gilbert, offers a prescription for finding and keeping happiness and emotional well-being throughout a person's life. St. Petersburg is a new book about the Nazi siege of Leningrad, which is known today as St. Petersburg. Set within an expansive history of that iconic city from Peter the Great to Vladimir Putin, it chronicles the siege but also traces the city's pivotal importance across centuries. And then lastly, we have Jungle Keeper, written by explorer and conservationist Paul Rosalie. And in this, he shares his incredible life in the Amazon rainforest and what we can learn from the people fighting to protect it.
Such a Perfect Life. In this gripping thriller by New York Times bestselling author Nalini Singh, we meet Tavish Advani, a man with a dangerous past who believes he's finally found a fresh start. After a whirlwind Vegas romance and a fairy tale marriage, he spends 79 days as the happiest man alive. Then everything shatters. His in-laws' luxurious home erupts in a fire explosion, leaving his wife in a coma and her family destroyed. As investigators close in, Tavish becomes the prime suspect, hunted by old accusations linking him to the deaths of several women he once loved. But this time he knows he's innocent. Determined to uncover the truth, he launches his own search for answers, only to discover that the perfect family he married into may have been hiding sinister secrets all along. What he finds is darker and more devastating than anything he ever imagined. My real likes for this are going to be None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. I will preface with my girlfriend and I read this in one night. It was perfect. Yeah, it was like, what? It was very exciting. This is by Lisa Jewell. On her 45th birthday, podcaster Alex Summers meets Josie Fair, her unexpected birthday twin. Josie soon suggests becoming the subject of Alex's next series, hinting at major changes in her life. Though unsettled, Alex agrees, only to discover Josie's world is far darker than she imagined. Josie slowly slips into Alex's life, then suddenly vanishes, leaving behind a terrifying trail. Soon, Alex realizes she's become the focus of her own true crime story, and her family may be in deadly danger. Who is Josie Fair, and what has she done? And The Silent Patient, Alex Michael. Alicia Berenson seems to have the perfect life. She's a celebrated painter, married to a successful photographer. But one night, without warning, she shoots her husband 5 times and never speaks again. Her silence turns the crime into a national obsession, and she's locked away in a secure psychiatric unit. Psychotherapist Theo Faber is determined to uncover why she did it, but his search to answer pulls him into a dark, twisted mystery that threatens to consume him.
You know, it's a good book.
It was.
Yeah.
It sounds pretty good. If it's anything like none of this is true.
Falling for it at the time. There's a lot of thrillers on this list. Although I considered the first time I saw him by Laura Dave, Hannah Hall #2, to be more of a mystery. And before I talk about the first time I saw him, I'm actually going to talk about the first read-alike, which is the first one in the series, The Last Thing He Told Me. You'll probably want to read that before reading the first time I saw him. So The Last Thing He Told Me, #1 in that series. Before Owen Michaels disappeared, he smuggled a note to his beloved wife of 1 year that said, "Protect her." Despite her confusion and fear, she knows to whom the note refers, Owen's 16-year-old daughter, Bailey. When the FBI arrests Owen, Hannah realizes her husband isn't at all who he seems in this gripping whirlwind ride with mysterious plot and thrilling twists that will easily hook readers. I do believe it was a Goodreads Choice Awards 1 year as well. So then back to the first time I saw him. This eagerly awaited and exhilarating sequel picks up 5 years after the first book, after her husband Owen disappeared. Hannah Hall and her stepdaughter Bailey have settled into a new life in Southern California when suddenly Owen shows up again. She knows trouble is on the way in this gripping, rich, and deeply moving novel about the power of forgiveness and second chances. The next read-alike, Famous Last Words by Gillian McAllister. An addictive thriller filled with secrets about a new mother's world being upended when her husband commits a terrifying crime. When Camilla wakes up, she finds a cryptic note from her husband Luke, then sees her husband on the news in a hostage situation. But he isn't the hostage, he is the gunman.
Jesse Garcia's newest domestic suspense novel delivers a mystery as unpredictable as the weather its heroine forecasts. Faith Richards is Detroit's beloved TV meteorologist, bright, confident, and known to viewers as the fair weather friend. She seems to have it all, but one night Faith steps out for a quick dinner break and never comes back. By morning, her body is found and the city is stunned. As investigators dig in, suspects begin to surface and long-hidden secrets ripple through the community. Faith's friends rush to defend her memory while a growing number of enemies reveal themselves in the shadows. It soon becomes clear that only the darkest, most deeply buried truths can explain what really happened. Told in Jesse Garcia's trademark fast-paced, multi-perspective style, this thriller pulls you straight into a storm of deception, betrayal, and twists no one could have predicted. My real likes are going to be The Family Plot by Megan Collins. From the author of The Winter Sister and Behind the Red Door comes a chilling story of family obsession and murder. Dahlia Lighthouse, haunted by her isolated upbringing and the disappearance of her twin brother, returns home after her father's death, only to discover another body buried in his grave. Andy's killed with a brutal axe. As Dahlia navigates her family's unsettling reactions, her brother building a crime memorial museum, her sister creating dioramas of infamous murders, and her mother hiding behind a domestic facade, she realizes the mansion and her eccentric family may hold the key to uncovering the horrifying truth about her twin brother's death. And Death of a Celebrity by MC Beaton, the author of Agatha Raisin series, comes Death of a Celebrity, a Hamish Macbeth mystery in the remote Scottish village of Lochdown. TV reporter Crystal French arrives in her flashy BMW, immediately clashing with the ever dutiful Constable Macbeth over reckless driving. When Crystal's new show dredges up old scandals, tensions rise, and soon someone ends up dead. Now Macbeth must navigate a dark web of passion, vengeance, and the secrets, uncovering a mystery that challenges not just his deceptive skills, but his art.
So, Order of Royals by Jude Devereaux is the second book in a fantasy romance duology. You don't see a lot of duologies these days, usually trilogies. So this one began with Blue Swan, that was the name of the first book. These are set on the mystical planet of Bellis, a world where royalty, magic, and mythical beings coexist. So this story has two main characters. You have a princess named Arabella who lives under the iron grip of her aunt, the evil queen, and Kaylee Aarons, an earthling who becomes deeply entangled in Bellis's intricate social hierarchy. So it's a story full of adventure, romance, and intrigue with themes of loyalty, love, and struggling against tyranny. So two more books by big name authors that also mix romance with fantasy would be The Awakening by Nora Roberts, which is the book one of a trilogy, with parallel worlds, same elements of adventure, romance, and magic. And then Sword of Light by Heather Graham is another fantasy romance, or romantasy if you will. That one is set in ancient Ireland. First Do No Harm is the latest novel in S.J. Rosen's mystery series that features New York private investigators Lydia Chin and Bill Smith, in which they unlock a hospital's many secrets in order to save an innocent man. When a nurse at River Valley Hospital, who was helping to negotiate with management to prevent a nurses' strike, is murdered, Dr. Elliot Chen asks his sister, Lydia Chen, to help investigate. When Lydia and Bill start to dig into the events and personnel at the hospital, one thing becomes clear: the dictum to first do no harm is not in effect at River Valley. So this series is suspenseful with good characterization that really immerses the reader in its New York City setting. Two more long-running mystery series with detective duos written by a female author would be Margaret Maron's series. This one's Long Upon the Land. Again, so this is another best-selling mystery series. This one features a judge and her husband, who is a deputy sheriff. This particular novel combines a central mystery with an involving family story. And A Killing of Innocence by Deborah Crombie has detectives Duncan Kincaid and Gemma James, and in this particular book they are racing to solve the murder of a young woman who was stabbed in London's Russell Square.
So we have another Anatomy of an Alibi by Ashley Elston. It is a tense, feverish thriller about two women's lives that are forever intertwined when a murder threatens to expose them both. Camille Bayliss appears to have the picture-perfect life. She's married to a hotshot lawyer named Ben and is the daughter of a wealthy Louisiana family. Only nothing is as it seems. When she suspects her husband is hiding things, she hires Aubrey Price, a woman with her own motives, to act as a stand-in, take her place so she can spy on her husband and maybe get some answers. But when Ben is found dead the next morning, only one woman has an airtight alibi in this twisty ride that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Our first read-alike, The Golden Couple by Greer Hendricks. I just picked up a copy from the book market. Go me. Wealthy Washington suburbanites Marissa and Matthew Bishop seem to have it all, until Marissa is unfaithful. Enter Avery Chambers, a therapist who has lost her professional license. When the Bishops start to seek counseling, all three are set on a collision course in this intriguing psychological thriller with well-developed characters, dark secrets, and plenty of drama to keep your head spinning. Next, The Lies I Tell by Julie Clark, a twisted domestic thriller that dives deep into the psyches and motivations of two women and their unwavering quest to seek justice for the past and rewrite the future. Meg, Maggie, Melody, different names, all for the same person, depending on the town and her job. Kat Roberts has been waiting 10 years to get even with the woman who upended her life. So they're, set against each other, two enemies, told in dual point of view. This is a fast-paced, easy-to-read cat-and-mouse thriller about secrets, revenge, and justice featuring complex characters. We then have, not a thriller, look at that, The Charmed Library by Jennifer Mormon. It's categorized as fiction, but I would also label it as magical realism. You have been invited into a world where words come alive, secrets are steeped in magic, and lives are transformed one story at a time. Stella Parker is just stuck. She's stuck in her childhood bedroom, stuck in heartbreak, but she has a secret. She can see words all around her, words that carry emotions and whisper untold stories. But then Stella wonders, could her gift help guide others to the stories they need most? Could these words hold the power to change lives? Part love story, part journey of self-discovery, this is a captivating exploration of life's possibilities when you dare to embrace the magic within. First read alike, The Lost Bookshop by E.V. Woods. An evocative and charming novel full of mystery, secrets, and wonder that follows three unsuspecting strangers on a path to discover their own stories. On a quiet street in Dublin, a lost bookshop is waiting to be found, and by unlocking the secrets of the shelves, they find themselves transported to another world where nothing is as it seems. Then the next one, The 10,000 Doors of January. It's by the same author of Starling House. In the early 1900s, a young woman embarks on a fantastical journey of self-discovery after finding a mysterious book in this captivating and lyrical debut. A combination of fantasy, fiction, and magical realism, it follows January as she travels through other worlds, learning about the past, the world, and herself. It is lush and richly imagined, a tale of impossible journeys, unforgettable love, and the enduring power of stories. The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst, I believe, was also a good recommendation for that one. Cozy mystery, The Devil in the Details. It is the 11th installment of her Sherlock Holmes bookshop mystery. And when birthday festivities end in freezing cold murder, Gemma Doyle is celebrating not only her friend's birthday, but that of the great Sherlock Holmes himself, when they unexpectedly discover a body on the beach. With drama in every corner, this is a short and sweet read featuring clever and quirky characters and a large pool of potential suspects that is sure to keep readers entertained. First read alike, Booked on Murder. Librarian Carrie Singleton is back and ready to tie the knot in the 8th and final installment of the Haunted Library Mystery Series. So that one was finished after this one. When a body is found on the lawn of her wedding venue, Carrie must race to find the killer and tie up the investigation before the big day. Filled with romance, twists and turns, and characters that will positively capture your heart. I had to do that. Forever After, Magical Cats Mystery number 16 by Sophie Kelly. Librarian Kathleen Paulson is back at it again and in for a spell of trouble. Busy running a library and planning her upcoming wedding, the last thing she needs is to stumble across a dead body in the library. What ensues is a failed art heist turned murder investigation in this lighthearted, cozy mystery featuring your favorite clever cats, Owen and Hercule.
Detour by Rob Hart and Jeff Rake. When Ryan Crane thwarts an assassination attempt on billionaire and presidential nominee John Ward, he is offered an unimaginable opportunity as a spot alongside 3 veteran astronauts on a first manned mission to Titan, one of Saturn's distant moons. Ryan at first hesitates with a new family and a child, but the money is too good, and he is encouraged by his wife to go on a mission where he is met with just explosions and deadly, adventurous turmoil that happens out in space, and they return home heroes, and they start, and that's only the first part where they realize they might not have returned to the home that they left. And they realize that they are being followed and monitored and cut off from each other, and they have to find a way to survive, potentially an Earth that might not be theirs. So, Rita likes Hail Mary's got an upcoming movie starring heartthrob Ryan Gosling. A lone astronaut and possible mission and an ally he never expected, Ryland Grace awakens millions of miles from Earth with no memory of who he is or the mission that could save humanity. With his crewmates dead and the clock ticking down, he must solve a life or death scientific mystery alone. But as his memories return, Ryland realizes he may not be as alone as he had thought. In Project Hail Mary, Andy Weir delivers an irresistible interstellar adventure full of discovery, suspense, and survival that takes readers further than ever before. The Lay of Haven, a classic science fiction masterpiece from Ursula K. Le Guin. The Lay of Heaven takes place in a future world ravaged by violence and environmental catastrophe. George Orr wakes to discover that his dreams can literally change reality when he seeks help from psychiatrist Dr. William Haber. Orr's extraordinary powers falls into dangerous hands, and soon the fate of humanity rests on his abilities to preserve reality itself. Thought-provoking and eerily prescient, Le Guin's novel explores the perils of power, the fragility of the world, and the nature of reality, securing its place as a true sci-fi classic.
So The Hitch by Sarah Levine, like you said, very absurd, and you'll feel that way after I've read its description. A delightfully unhinged comedy following a woman as she attempts to exorcise the spirit of a dead corgi from her nephew and renegotiate the borders of her previously rational world. So when Rose offers to look after her 6-year-old nephew, her sister-in-law very reluctantly agrees. When Rose's Newfoundland attacks and kills a corgi in the park, her nephew starts acting strangely. He's barking, he's overeating, he's talking to himself. He tells her the soul of the corgi is living within him. Utterly bizarre and filled to the brim with humor, this is an absurd novel overflowing with tail-wagging chaos. I love that. So my first read, I picked, pardon my language, pardon my French, Night Bitch by Rachel Yoder, because the premise of that is a woman who is struggling with her daily life, struggling with just motherhood. She is unnamed in the novel, and suddenly, after a night out, or after a night home in, she suddenly develops super sharp canines, patches of hair, new appetites and instincts, and she hears a new voice within herself as she begins to transform from woman to dog. It is unique and filled with dark, raw humor. This weird genre blend is great for women that feel like they're losing themselves. So if you like the aspect of, I don't know, the kid becoming the dog, Night Bitch. If you like the aspect of the story told from a child, like a child's point of view, and there being a very weird child corgi hybrid, Happy People Don't Live Here by Andrew Sparks. A reclusive mother and her saturnine daughter move into a haunted building brimming with eccentrics and secrets and this quick mystery full of quirky characters. It is an unusual read that captures grief, longing, love, and family, all set in the strange setting of Pine Lake Apartments, a former sanatorium with odd neighbors, a mermaid and a medium, and a smattering of ghosts in this entertaining debut novel. Strange. I feel like you might also like Toto. That's kind of a mystery from the perspective of a Toto, the talking dog, by A.J. Hackwith. That would probably be another good read to like as well.
The Bookbinder's Secret by A.D. Bell. In this spellbinding historical mystery, we follow Lily Delaney, a young bookbinder's apprentice in Oxford in 1901. Chafing under the weight of her father's failing bookshop and the limitations placed on her in a male-dominated trade, Lily longs for something more. That chance arrives when she's handed a partially burned book and discovers hidden beneath its binding a 50-year-old confession filled with forbidden love, vanished fortune, and murder. Captivated, Lily begins tracing the story through other altered books and secret pages scattered across England. But her curiosity soon turns to obsession, and she realizes she's not the only one hunting the truth. What begins as an intriguing puzzle becomes a perilous chase as collectors, criminals, and shadowy figures close in. From eccentric London booksellers to private libraries and dusty archives, Lily's search leads her deep into a web of danger. As the stakes rise, she must decide how much she's willing to sacrifice and whether uncovering the past is worth risking her own life. Patrick and Jenny gave me all the leftovers, so I wasn't able to talk about a fantasy series. So I slipped one in. The Invisible Library by Genevieve Cogman. Irene must stay sharp or lose her case forever. A professional spy for the mysterious library, which collects fiction from alternate realities, she and her enigmatic assistant Kai are sent to an alternate London to retrieve a dangerous book, only to find it already stolen. The city's underground factions will fight to the death to claim it, and chaos reigns with magic and supernatural creatures everywhere. With secrets, danger, and shadowy societies closing in, Irene must navigate a perilous web of intrigue because failure could unravel reality itself. This is a big series. Very fun. It's fun. Something Red, Something Dead by Eva Gates. Winter on North Carolina's Outer Banks brings wedding bells and murder to the Lighthouse Library. Lucy Richardson helps her cousin Josie plan a small, simple wedding, but Josie's controlling grandmother and ambitious cousin Maribel have other ideas. When Maribel collapses after sampling Josie's specially prepared treats, what was meant to be a joyful bridal shower turns deadly. Now Lucy must untangle family drama, romantic mischief, and a criminal plot to save her cousin from ruin. In this fifth festive Lighthouse Library mystery, Eva Gates serves up charm, suspense, and a dash of danger.
Skylark is a new historical fiction novel by Paul McLean, set in Paris and featuring a dual timeline. So in 1664 Paris, the daughter of a master dyer is confined to an asylum after she tries to free her unjustly imprisoned father. And in 1939 Paris, a medical student jeopardizes his work as a doctor to help his Jewish neighbors evade the Nazi occupiers. McLean writes with lush, seductive prose and fine-tuned historical detail. The novel has a memorable cast of characters and is described as mysterious, haunting, and timeless. It's an enthralling story about courage, resistance, and the strength of the human spirit. Now, both of these read-alikes are also set in World War II era Paris. All the Flowers in Paris by Sarah Gio is about two women connected across time by the city of Paris, a mysterious stack of love letters, and shocking secrets. It sweeps from World War II to present time. There is a romance element in this one. And The Paris Dressmaker is about two courageous women who do what they can to resist in Nazi-occupied France. So similar themes there of resistance, love, and redemption. This is the latest book in the long-running Dresden Files series, which is about the character Harry Dresden, who is a professional wizard living in Chicago. To give you an idea of the feel of this series, it has been described as Buffy the Vampire Slayer starring Philip Marlowe. So in this new book, Harry has once again saved the city, but he has also lost people he cared about in the process, and it's taking his toll on him. The problem is he doesn't have time to recover, given that his brother is dying. Ghouls are prowling the city, and he's been betrothed to a deadly vampire. According to Publishers Weekly, this installment's greatest strength lies in its exploration of Dresden's mental state, as his resilience is tested as never before. So this is a high-stakes page-turner that also explores themes of loss and grief. When it comes to urban fantasy, like the Dresden Files is considered, the name Patricia Briggs will probably always come up. This is an urban fantasy series set in Washington State about Mercy Thompson, who is a mechanic and shapeshifter. And Robert Jackson Bennett, I'm sure we've mentioned this series in here before, but this is The Tainted Cup, which is it's a genre blend of crime, mystery, and fantasy. So it's a mystery set in a fantasy setting. It's about a brilliant investigator and her new assistant who look into the death of a high imperial officer.
Remember That Day by Mary Below. In this sweeping historical romance, love sparks between the most unlikely pair, a hardened soldier and a devoted pacifist. Winifred Cunningham, the adopted daughter of a portrait painter, believes her gentle friend Owen Ware is on the brink of proposing. But everything changes when Owen introduces her to his older brother. Nicholas, the stern, battle-worn cavalry colonel Winifred immediately resents. Nicholas finds Winifred strange and disarmingly forthright, and she sees him as intimidating and unfeeling. Yet, during a summer of at Ravenswood, circumstances repeatedly throw them together. Their clashes grow more heated until they both realizes that the fire fueling their arguments is actually desire. But the path forward is anything but proper. Winifred still expects Owen's proposal, and Nicholas has publicly set his sights on another woman. Bound by duty, family, loyalty, and societal expectations, not to mention their significant age gap, they know pursuing each other would be scandalous, and yet the pull between them is undeniable. What should never happen feels both irresistible and perhaps inevitable. Relikes for this are going to be My One and Only Duke by Grace Burrows. A funny thing happens on the way to the gallows. London banker Quinn Wentworth goes from facing execution to discovering he's the long-lost heir to a dukedom. Rising from the slums, he's ready to use every trick he knows to find the enemy who wronged him. But when he meets Jane Winston, a widowed, pregnant minister's daughter, he proposes a marriage of convenience to secure their future, never expecting love to enter the equation. Now Quinn and Jane must navigate vengeance, duty, and unexpected passion, discovering whether their unlikely union is doomed or destined for happily ever after. The McKinnon's Bride by Tanya Ann Crosby. When Laird Lane McKinnon's young son is captured by the English, the fierce Scottish chieftain strikes back, seizing the daughter of his enemy to negotiate a ransom, but Page Fitzsimmons' father refuses to claim her, and Lane becomes her unexpected protector, tasked with keeping her safe. He brings her home, hiding the painful truth as Page wrestles with betrayal and suspicion. Secrets and danger loom in the shadows of her. In this passionate tale, only love can save McKinnon's fiery new bride. Meet the Newmans by Jennifer. For 20 years, Dell and Dinah Newman, along with their sons Guy and Shep, have been America's favorite family. The stars of a wildly popular TV show built on wholesome black and white perfection. But in 1964, the world is changing fast, and the Newmans' glossy image suddenly feels outdated. Ratings are plunging, and behind the scenes, the family is quietly falling apart. Dell is guarding a dangerous secret. Dinah is going numb in more ways than one. Guy is hiding the truth about who he loves, and Shep's rock and roll charm may finally be running out of luck. When Dell is injured in a mysterious car accident, Dinah decides it's time to take control. She brings in Juliet Dunn, a bold young reporter, to help her shape the show's final episode. But the two women clash over their very different views of family, womanhood, and the shifting culture of 1964. As pressure mounts, the Newmans must confront the messy, complicated truths behind their picture-perfect facade. Warm, funny, and heartfelt, Meet the Newmans is a story about reinvention, resilience, and the hidden lives we all carry, whether or not the cameras are rolling. All right, my reader likes are going to be The Corrections by Jonathan Franzen. It's a dark comedic, and deeply moving novel about a family's unraveling in the modern age. Enid Lambert, after nearly 50 years as wife and mother, longs for one last Christmas with her scattered children, but her husband, Alfred, battles Parkinson's, her son, Gary, wrestles with depression, Chip flounders in a failed career, and Dennis risks everything in a reckless affair. Spanning the Midwest to Wall Street and Eastern Europe, Jonathan Franzen's masterpiece explores the clash between old-fashioned values and today's world of greed, DIY therapy, and modern chaos, offering a sharp, hilarious, and humane portrait of the American family and soul. And Big Little Lies by Leanne Moriarty, the author of Truly Madly Guilty and Husband's Secret, comes Big Little Lies, a gripping story about the dangerous little lies we tell ourselves to survive. A murder A tragic accident or just bad parenting, someone is dead. But the truth is murky, Madeline is sharp, funny, and unforgiving. Celeste is beautiful but hides a painful reality, and Jane, a young single mother with a mysterious past, arrives in town carrying secrets of her own, and their lives collide. Schoolyard rivalries, family drama, and the dark secrets spiraling towards shocking conclusion, proving that even the smallest lies can turn deadly.
Okay, The Seven Daughters of Dupree is a sweeping, multi-generational epic about love, loss, and family that tracks the lives of 7 generations of black women from the 1860s to the 2020s. It's 1995, and 14-year-old Tati is determined to uncover the identity of her father, but her mother and grandmother are reluctant to divulge the details of their family's past. As Tati digs deeper, she uncovers a legacy of family secrets. The novel is written with galloping, haunting prose, and according to Publishers Weekly, the non-linear narrative builds to a breathtaking and heartbreaking climax. It's an epic tale of resilience. First read-alike is Homegoing by Yad Gyasi. It's about 2 half-sisters born into different villages who face very different but connected fates in 18th century Ghana. This one is also sweeping in scope, historical fiction focused on black women, and the love songs of W.E.B. Du Bois. Also historical, set in Georgia. This one's about a black woman exploring her family's past in order to come to terms with who she is and what she wants.
Missing Sam by Thriti Umrigar. I'm actually really excited for this one. It is a thrilling and haunting story of an Indian American woman who becomes the prime suspect when her wife goes missing. When Aaliyah and Samantha have a fight one night, Samantha goes for a run early the next morning and does not come back. This fast-paced domestic thriller captures the terror manifested in today's political climate and the real dangers, both physical and psychological, of being brown and queer in America. If you are a fan of the mystery of this one, If Something Happens to Me by Alex Finley. For 5 years, Ryan has relived the night his girlfriend disappeared, and though he's innocent, suspicion hangs over him, forcing him to put the past behind him. But when Allie's car is found with a strange note beginning with, "If something happens to me, ... a hunt for the truth begins." The next we like, and this one is if you are a fan of the aftermath, because Missing Sam also does dig into the aftermath of what happens when you're kidnapped and their relationship. So I would recommend Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman. When Cora attends her sister's birthday party, she expects at most a hangover or a walk of shame, and she really does not anticipate waking up in shackles in a madman's basement next to Dean, her sister's boyfriend. Forced to do the unthinkable in captivity, Cora and Dean form an intense bond that only grows stronger after their escape. Dark, twisted, and emotional, this dark romance details the aftermath of kidnapping and the time it takes to heal. So that one's very, very emotional, but it depends on if you read it for the mystery or did you read it for the struggle and the getting back to normal.
George Falls Through Time is a genre-defining literary novel about a man transported through time in a moment of extreme stress, whose modern anxieties are replaced by medieval brutalities. Having recently broken up with his boyfriend as well as laid off from his job, George finds himself in a stress-induced spiral that magically sends him back to the year 1300. Although he's quickly tossed into a dungeon, he soon adjusts to his simpler existence. But a summons from the king threatens to send his life up in flames. So this one's being described as entertaining, big-hearted, and funny. It's a medieval adventure that explores themes of identity, the nature of desire, and the power of love. And apparently it's also a reimagining of the legend of St. George and the Dragon. Less by Andrew Sean Greer is about a middle-aged failed novelist who arranges to skip town to avoid the wedding of his former boyfriend. So you have a gay male main character, the theme of travels or voyages. This one also has kind of a similar humorous tone. And as you can see, both characters are falling at the same angle and position, so that must mean something. And then the Ministry of Time, I'm sure some of you have read this one, recent book discussion pick, about a 19th century British explorer who time travels to the present as part of a government experiment. So you have that time travel element. There's elements of romance, humor, but also moments of deep pathos.
Vigil by George Saunders. Jill Dahl Planey has died 343 times. Every time she falls back to earth to guide another soul into the afterlife, reforming mid-air right down to her trademark black pumps. She crash lands at the mansion of her newest charge, the powerful, larger-than-life KJ Boone. Dahl's job is simple: comfort the dying, but Boone refuses comfort. In his mind, he lived boldly, left a legacy, and has nothing to regret, or does he? What follows is a wild, surreal final night as visitors, living, dead, and entirely otherworldly, flood Boone's room. Birds swirl, a black calf wanders through the furniture. Men from his past arrive with unsettling agendas, and a stranger from a drought-stricken village appears, demanding answers. Each visitor forces Boone to confront the real impact of his choices. With his signature wit and boundless imagination, Saunders turns this chaotic vigil into a profound exploration of corporate greed, environmental destruction, moral responsibility, and the fragile line between redemption and ruin. Vigil becomes not just a night of reckoning, but a sweeping meditation on life, death, and the price of the world we built. Highlights for this are going to be The Overstory by Richard Powers. This is a sweeping, passionate novel that celebrates and warns us about the natural world, spanning from antebellum New York to the timber wars of the Pacific Northwest. It weaves interlocking fables of people who come to see the hidden, interconnected life of trees. From roots to crown and back to seeds, Powers reveals a vast, slow, inventive world almost invisible to us, drawing his characters and readers into an urgent story of environmental catastrophe, resilience, and the profound ties that bind all living things. And the book thief, Marcus Zusak, in 1939 Nazi Germany. Its death is busier than ever. At her brother's graveside, young Leslie discovers the Gravedigger's Handbook, sparking her first act of book thievery and a lifelong love for words. With the help of her accordion-playing foster father, she learns to read and begins stealing books from Nazi book burning in hidden libraries. But when her family hides a Jewish man in their basement, Leslie's world is both open and imperiled. Marcus Zuzak's The Book Thief is a brilliantly written, unforgettable story of courage, loss, and the transformative power of words. The Infamous Gilberts by Angela Tomasky. Thornwalk, a once stately English manor, stands on the brink of transformation. Its keys are being handed over to a luxury hotelier for a complete renovation, but in doing so, what memories and secrets will be lost? Through the eyes of an enigmatic neighbor, we are guided through rooms filled with hidden stories, uncovering the lives of the 5 Gilbert siblings. Spanning from the eve of World War II to the early 2000s, this contemporary Gothic novel paints a vivid picture of English country life, where the echoes of the Edwardian ideal collide with war, neglect, and the passage of time. The Gilbert story is one of the great loves, lofty ambitions, and profound loss. With mordant wit and deep empathy, Angela Tomasky creates an immersive take that is both haunting and heartfelt. Reminiscent of Rebecca and We Have Always Lived in the Castle, The Infamous Gilberts offers a fresh take on a classic genre, exploring the troubled, fascinating dynamics of a family whose secrets linger long after the doors are closed. Going with like the dark Gothic house setting, What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. When retired soldier Alex Easton learns that their childhood friend Madeline Usher is dying, they rush to the remote ancestral home of the Ushers in Rurubia, made up fantasy country. What awaits is a nightmare, fungal infestations, possessed wildlife, and a dark pulsing lake. Madeline sleepwalks and speaks in strange voices, where her brother Roderick suffers from a mysterious neurological illness. With the help of a determined British mycologist, thank you, and a perplexed American doctor, Alex must uncover a terrifying secret of the house of Usher before it destroys them all. And in Wuthering Heights by Emily Bront, timeless tale of passion, revenge, and the forces that shape our lives. When Lockwood, the new tenant of Thrushcross Grange, seeks shelter one stormy night at Wuthering Heights, he uncovers the intense history of Heathcliff, a gypsy fondling, and Catherine Earnshaw. Torn between love and societal expectations, Catherine's choices ignite a cycle of bitterness and vengeance that haunts the next generation.
Crux is a story of intense friendship and grit about two down-and-out teens looking to escape their lives. Dan and Tama are in their last year of high school in the southern Mojave Desert, and despite their differences, they bond over a mutual interest in climbing, an interest they use to chase a different future together. With a magnificent gift for nature riding and a joyful appreciation for the redemptive power of friendship, Gabriel Talent gives readers a rollicking, adrenaline-filled, and soul-searching novel about risking everything to change your life. Both of the read-alikes I have here are also feature two people experiencing life-changing events while out in nature. Beartooth is about two brothers living off the grid near Yellowstone National Park who are struggling to make ends meet after the death of their father. And The River by Peter Heller is a vivid and engaging story about two college friends on a summer wilderness canoe trip. No One Would Do What the Lamberts Have Done by Sophie Hannah is an original, entertaining novel set in a small English town about a family's desperate attempts to save their beloved dog after a neighbor with a grudge accuses the dog of biting her. Most people would never run. Most people would never leave everything behind they know to protect an animal who can't defend himself. But for Sally Lambert, Champ is more than a dog. He's one of her children, and most people aren't the Lamberts. This one is described both as twisty and suspenseful, but also charming and humorous. It has a clever plot and an engaging style. Kirkus calls it an absolutely absurdist romp for dog-loving mystery fans.
I love dogs.
So, speaking of dog-loving mystery fans, How to Talk to Your Dog About Murder is about a pet behaviorist/dog walker who looks into the murder of a wealthy suburbanite who hired her to help the family's old hound dog who is grieving the loss of his owner. So, dog-related mystery there. And the curious incident of the dog in the nighttime is also a dog-related mystery, although I think has significantly different tone. But this one's about an autistic teenage boy who investigates the murder of a neighbor's dog. Set in England, this one's more kind of offbeat and unique, just like the way Sophie Hannah's new one is being described.
I really liked that book.
Yeah.
Sounds like me. Hemlock by Melissa Falavendino. I'm not sure if that's how you say it, but we're gonna go with it. A woman haunted by a dark inheritance returns to the woods where her mother vanished in this queer Gothic novel set in a deteriorating cabin deep in the Wisconsin Northwoods. When Sam, finally sober and stable, returns to her family cabin, things begin to go awry, and it starts, as it always does, with a beer. Mysterious things begin to happen, Sam's stay gets unexpectedly extended, and the borders of her reality begin to blur as she senses something sinister in this carnal coming-of-addiction novel about desire, transformation, and transcendence. The first read-alike, The Vegetarian by Con Kang. This was recommended if you really enjoyed the writing style and tone of Hemlock. a darkly allegorical, Kafkaesque tale of power, obsession, and one woman's struggle to break free from the violence both without and within her. Lush and descriptive, this dark tale follows Yong Hai, who makes a drastic life change and becomes vegetarian in order to stop violent nightmares of blood and brutality. Obsession, identity, independence, and control are ever present in this literary horror, not for the faint of heart. I say that, not for the faint of heart. The review said, gross. Myra by Nikki Gonzalez. If you were at the latest book show and tell, I can't shut up about it. A literary fever dream set in the Florida Everglades that explores identity, female friendships, desire, and memory. When Ingrid gets a phone call from her childhood friend Myra, inviting her to a mysterious house in the middle of nowhere, she agrees because she sees this as an opportunity to reconnect. When she arrives, Ingrid is immediately seduced by Myra, the house, its keeper, and the land surrounding it. But time seems to move differently here, and if Ingrid's not careful, she may never leave. So as soon as I saw Hemlock, I was like, this is a perfect read. Myra just has me in a chokehold. I would definitely recommend it if you like horror. Light horror. Myra's very light horror. It's not the vegetarian. It's not deep, dark, and dirty and gritty. It's very light horror, no violence, no gross.
Eating in the dirt?
Oh, I mean, there was one scene where this guy like eats dirt, okay? But that's just weird. It's not like super icky, like I'm bleeding everywhere. I digress. In Bloom.
Who hasn't eaten dirt?
Who hasn't eaten dirt, okay? In Bloom by Liz Allen. It is the mid-90s, and in the small, shitty coastal town of Vincent, 4 girls, each hailing from single mothers, multi-sibling families, form a band. Winning the battle of the bands is their ticket out, and they might not have the talent, but they do have the determination and grit. When their lead singer quits and accuses their famed music teacher of sexual assault, the girls struggle to keep their dream alive. It is brash and bold, grungy and full of heart. It is a compelling coming-of-age novel about class, sacrifice, and young female friendships. First read like Girls on Fire by Robin Wasserman. Similar story set in the 1990s, a shocking story of love and violence and an addictive portrait of the intoxication of female friendship. On Halloween 1991, a popular high school basketball star ventures into the woods and never comes out. He is found dead 3 days later. In the wake of this tragedy, our main character, Hannah Dexter, is befriended by a bad influence, Lacey Champlain. And as their friendship blossoms, Dex falls into a feverish spiral of obsession and rebellion. The last real like My Last Innocent Year, I actually read this year, and it instantly made me think about it. It's 1998, and Isabel Rosen is about to enter her senior year of college when she gets caught up in a non-consensual sexual encounter with another student that leaves her reeling. She is still grieving the death of her mother. She is, finishing up her last year of college. She's coming to terms with this encounter she had with another student, and she begins a sexual relationship with her professor. This is a coming-of-age story set against the backdrop of the Clinton Lewinsky scandal. It is a debut novel, timely and wise portrait of a young woman learning to trust her voice and move towards independence. Very good read. Very.
Eve MacDonald is an ancient historian, archaeologist, and senior lecturer at Cardiff University. She's one of the foremost experts on the history of Carthage and North Africa. Her book, Carthage, is a landmark new history of ancient Rome's most famous rival, home of Hannibal, jewel of North Africa, and foundational power of the Western Mediterranean. It's the first history of Carthage written in over a decade and is more expansionist than revisionist. One review calls it a thorough, up-to-date account of the little-regarded but once mighty civilization. So, Hannibal is, of course, about Carthage's most famous resident, one of the greatest military leaders in history who almost destroyed Rome after leading an army over the Alps. If you want to read about Hannibal, look at Philip Freeman's biography there. And SPQR by Mary Beard is a history of ancient Rome by a prominent female classicist. The author writes with infectious enthusiasm and an enjoyable style. Opera Wars is a lively and insightful debut that offers an inside look at the world of opera and the battles for its future. Drawing on interviews with dozens of opera insiders as well as her own experience as an award-winning librettist, trained vocalist, opera company director, and arts commentator, Vincent addresses issues like race and gender, typecasting, and the kowtowing of opera companies to the demands of traditionalist patrons. But despite her criticisms, her veneration for the art of opera is evident throughout this book. So this is something that would appeal to die-hard opera fans and also those who are venturing into the topic for the first time. A couple other books on the topic of opera would be A Mad Love by Vivian Schweitzer. This is an introduction to opera by a musician and critic that offers a spirited tour of its eclectic past and present. And A New Philosophy of Opera is a radical and refreshing book that can act as an introduction to the art form of opera or as a manifesto to nonconformist Sharon's fellow artists.
Gordon Carrera's The Spy in the Archives. How do you steal a library? Not just any library, but the world's most secret archive. You become a librarian. That's why I'm next. Man, beat me to it. Quiet, unnoticed, and patient, The Spy in the Archive tells the extraordinary true story of Vasily Matrokhin, a KGB archivist whose love of dusty files led him to uncover some of Soviet Union's deepest secrets. Over decades, he transformed from an introverted clerk to dissident, then spy, determined to expose the dark forces that had subverted Russia. With MI6's help, he escaped unnoticed, forever changing our understanding of the KGB in the shadowy world of espionage. What did you say?
Oui, oui.
All right. Ghost of Honolulu by the Mark Harmon, NCIS fame.
Oh yeah.
Hawaii, 1941, teeters on the brink of war as spies, intelligence agents, and military officials maneuver in the islands, with residents caught in the middle. In Ghosts of Honolulu, Japanese-American agent Douglas Wada and Japanese spy Takeo Yoshikawa engage in a high-stakes cat-and-mouse game, gathering crucial intelligence on the U.S. fleet before Pearl Harbor. Amid danger and deception, the story also reveals the struggles of ordinary residents facing suspicion and prejudice, painting a gripping portrait of espionage, loyalty, and the razor-thin line between truth and illusion. And in Spies of No Country by Matt Friedman, he tells the story of Israel's first spies, a ragtag unit of Jewish operatives posing as Arabs in 1948 in Beirut to gather intelligence during the War of Independence. Operating from a kiosk with a disguised radio, they risked capture and death, and some paid the ultimate price. This gripping tale explores their shifting identities, the birth of the Mossad, and Israel's own complex identity, revealing the human drama and global stakes behind the nation's earliest acts of espionage.
An illuminating, hilarious, and practical guide to 99 of the most terrifying ways to die and how to avoid them, from emergency medicine doctor Ashley Alker. It includes real-life experiences in the ER. Dr. Alker manages to both scare and humor readers as she talks about deadly situations related to sex, poison, drugs, disease, animals, and much more in this darkly funny, entertaining, and informative guide about death and healthcare. Instantly made me think about Will My Cat Eat My Eyeballs by Caitlin Dowdy. Great read. The answer is yes, if they're left with you long enough. Everyone has questions about death, and best-selling author and mortician Caitlin Dowdy answers these questions in this brisk, informative, and morbidly funny collection of true stories about what happens to our bodies when we die. It is insanely fun to listen to on audiobook. She narrates it. The second one, What If by Randall Munroe. Just we're sticking with the weirdness, weird questions. Do you ask a lot of strange questions? Munroe pursues the answers for you as he runs computer simulations and solves differential equations to bring you the information you desire in this witty and clever, easy to read, entertaining exploration of simple and complex hypothetical questions. There is also a what if too, if you like the number 1. And of course, I did the cult discussion earlier, so when I saw cult book, I had to sweep it up. The Culting of America, What Makes a Cult and Why We Love Them. You're probably in a cult, you just don't know it yet. Blending personal narrative, cultural critique, and deep research. Cult survivor and military veteran Young, so Danielle, delivers a gripping investigation into the invisible systems of control shaping our lives. It is told with sharp insight, dark humor, and unflinching honesty. This is both a wake-up call and a survival guide for anyone who has ever felt uneasy in a group that they believed in. First Real Like, obviously, Cults by Max Cutler. Deep dive into the world's most notorious groups and the people they prey on, based on the hit podcast Cults. It's a compelling, essential read for any true crime fan. A gritty and unflinching look at cult leaders, their followers, why they joined, stayed, or fled the communities that once nourished them. And then Cultish by Amanda Montell, an incisive and darkly funny analysis of the social science of cult influence and how cultish groups use language as the ultimate form of power, told through juicy storytelling and cutting original research. This is an inquisitive look at language and influence as engaging, it is informative and immensely insightful. A lot of cult books that we're getting lately.
Spinosaur Tales by David Hone and Mark Whitten. The Spinosaurs, the group that include this colossal Spinosaurus, the largest land predator of all time, takes center stage in the fascinating new review. Famous for its sailback silhouettes and the crocodile-like head, Spinosaurus has captured the imagination of scientists and the public alike, from documentaries to video games and even besting Tyrannosaurus Rex and Jurassic Park 3. Well, what do we really know about what this extraordinary predator and its bizarre relatives? Much of them remains a mystery. Their fossils record is fragmentary, their anatomy debated, and their behavior and ecology roles hotly contested. I'm going to throw in a fun, not so fun little tidbit. In World War II, the Nazis bombed one of our only completed best completed Spinosaur fossils and completely set us back on this animal group. That's my little tidbit. Anyways, Spinosaur Tales brings their enigmatic giants to life. Written by world-renowned paleontologists David Hone and Mark P. Whitten, it offers stunning illustrations of the latest research on the evolution, anatomy, and extraordinary lifestyles of one of the strangest and most captivating groups of dinosaurs ever discovered. In Dinosaurs at the Dinner Party by Edward Dolnick, early 1800s, no one imagined creatures like dinosaurs had ever existed until a 20-year-old farm boy in Massachusetts discovered enormous fossilized footprints. From there, scientists like Mary Anning, William Buckland, and Richard Owen pieced together a prehistoric world that had long vanished. In Dinosaurs at the Dinner Party, Edward Dolnick tells the captivating true stories of how these discoveries transformed our understanding of the natural world, bringing to life their personalities, rivalries, and groundbreaking science behind the birth of paleontology.
I just finished, it was really good, and I'm glad to see it's on the book discussion list for next year.
Yeah, I'm going to be running that. I put my name on that, so I will be leading that discussion.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, regardless of if anybody else does it. So I will be there. Discovering the Mammoth by John J. McKay. Long after mammoths vanished, their bones inspired myths around the world. Giant fossils became the slain titans of the Greeks, dragons' teeth to the Chinese. As the age of reason emerged, thinkers turned to science to unravel these mysteries. From 1690s Russian ivory to the giant frozen mammoths during the Napoleonic Wars, a colorful cast, including Peter the Great, Ben Franklin, and even a pirate paved the way. Their discoveries didn't just reveal an unknown animal, they helped create the science of paleontology. Thank you so much for coming. I'm sure Jenny or Patrick might want to tack onto this, but our next books of focus is going to be Tuesday, January 13th, and we'll talk about what's coming out in February. Thank you for joining us all year round. Hope you enjoyed it and found some good books from us.